And so I went to the doctor and they were basically like, yeah, you are in severe like adrenal fatigue, exhaustion. You maybe have 6 more months to continue working like this, or you will be bedridden. And to me, that was the ultimate wake up call. I was like, okay, something here is not going right. Something is wrong. And so I had that ultimate wake up call, and I really felt like I didn't have any other option but to find a different way to work or give up my career.
Welcome to Business Origin Stories. I'm Amy Schutte, your guide to crafting a magnetic message for a profitable business. This is the podcast for you if you're ready to claim the transformative power of your own origin story and use it to create a brand that finally stands out. We're here to level up, but more importantly, I'm here to help you elevate your influence, your community, and your impact on the world. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening. And remember, the stories you tell yourself are your greatest currency.
Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back to Business Origin Stories. Today, I am talking to Shauna Nuckles, who is an award-winning entrepreneur and the founder of Advocation, an operations and training consultancy for PR, digital, and creative firms. She is on a mission to de-stress agency teams, and Shauna is basically the secret unicorn that so many agencies that you know and love are using to help them grow and scale in a way that is sustainable. I have admired Shauna for a while, and I also love that so many of my friends have used her to help them get out of overwhelm. And since they have raved about her so often, I think that's always the best testimonial and way to grow your business is cool referrals. So I wanted to bring her on today so that you could listen to her story, how she got into burnout, and then how she got out of it, and now how she's on a mission to really help other agency owners do the same for their business and scale properly. And this is very cool. If you are listening in real time, in July of 2024, Shauna was kind enough to give me coupon code for her upcoming masterclass for agency leaders who want to simplify their operations and supercharge their revenue with productized service offerings. We deep dive into this on our interview today, but this masterclass is going to be amazing. Normally, the class is $197. She's giving it to you for free if you use the code ORIGINLEVERAGE at checkout. This will all be in the show notes, so please go sign up because I swear everything that Shauna does is gold. So I'm going to be on this class. You should be too, whether you're an agency owner or not. It's going to help you scale and work with your teams, come up with really great product offerings, do all the things that are really hard to do for yourself. So again, the code is Origin Leverage, and you can find her masterclass at advocation.com/leverage-masterclass. Okay, with that, let's dive in. Shauna, it's so good to see you. Thank you for being here with me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
We crossed paths a long time ago. And so this is really, really fun to like kind of circle back. And it's nice too, because a lot of people, I don't remember when that was. It's been years, and it's always nice when people are still in business years later in the digital world. So it's so great to see you thriving. And I cannot wait to dive into all your good, juicy wisdom today for people, because I think you're kind of the secret weapon that everyone really needs in their business. So
I love that. I'll put that on the calling card. Thank you.
well, can you tell everybody, let's just start with where are you right now? And then who are you and what do you bring to the world?
Yes, thank you. So my name is Shauna Nuckles. I am based in Austin, Texas. So I'm here in my office in Austin, and I run a company called Advocation, and we are an operations and training consultancy. We focus specifically on the agency business model. So we work with PR, marketing, creative, digital, social media, kind of all of the agencies under that umbrella to help them systemize their businesses, extract founders from the day-to-day so that they can grow and scale the firm, focus on sales, start an entirely new business, and so forth. And overall, really just ensure that the business runs optimally for the founder, executive team, and the full team, really.
It's huge. And I love that you're helping creatives with this because so many people get into business or they start freelancing and then all of a sudden they realize, oh, I am running a business. And that's a big jump, especially as they're bringing in a team. And I love that you're really helping pull the founder out to give that person more space and time and visionary capacity. That's a big deal.
Yes, it almost seems like a cruel joke sometimes that in this business model, in the marketing creative world, a lot of folks start their business because they are passionate about their craft. They're really good graphic designers, they're really great PR strategists, they're excellent at social media or whatever their specific discipline is. And they're not necessarily business folks. And as they get better and better at delivering results for clients, more clients come through the door. The business that they've built becomes kind of this monster that they don't know how to contain any longer. And the agency business model, once you scale it to a certain point, is an incredibly complicated model to get right. There's lots of moving parts and financials and tools, and it's really easy to get upside down in your finances. Just to put it blank, that's what point blank, that's what we see happen with a lot of founders, where they wake up one day and one, they've created a job for themselves that they really don't want to have anymore. And two, they're really not making any money, which if you get into business to fund your lifestyle, to provide for your family economically, that is a really pretty awful place to be. So we help agencies kind of turn that around.
And I think that happens so often, right? That's pretty normal. I think we're so used to seeing this like very successful, it looks so great on the outside story. We're a 7-figure business. We're doing all this stuff. It's amazing. But internally, a lot of those businesses are, the founders maybe not getting paid what they should. It's just, it becomes this hamster wheel of trying to get people in and deliver. And it's just can be really stressful. And I think that happens with any industry. But I do think with the agency model, with marketing or PR, creative, it's really easy to have happen.
I agree. And I think it's one of the marketing people are really great at selling things, and that is a beautiful skill to have. But when you're selling yourself and the general, public on the fact that your business is successful, but it feels so stressful and chaotic behind the scenes, not really doing yourself a service in that instance. And it's almost like a therapy session when we kick off with clients where they're like, all right, here's what's really going on. I just need to get this off my chest. How I don't want to work like this. I don't want to live like this anymore. And really, oftentimes there just needs to be that safe space where they can say, hey, this is just not working. I don't know what to do. Instead of just pretending and putting content out into the world that makes it look like they're just crushing it, when we might be in one area, like clients, revenue, reputation, success. That is definitely a huge piece of success, but you're working until midnight every single night. If you're paying yourself the same salary as your intern, like that's not what anybody wants for their business long-term. And there's a path to get out of that. And we help light that path for agencies.
Oh, I feel that like deep in my stomach. That feels that just that feeling. I've been so protective of the seasons of my business and making sure that that's not my reality. But it can be hard because we're so used to seeing other people, visually look like they're just scaling and rocking it. And I'm always so grateful I have kids because it's really kept me from going nuts in that direction without any sort of kind of stop. And I've just had to be really mindful of seasons and what I really want and coming back to my values. But it is hard to do when that is really painted as the model of success. And so I love that you're the place where people can come in a safe space and then a way out, which you started this because this happened to you. Is that right?
Yes. So
I want to go there. Tell me the story because I think it's so many people's story, Shauna, and I'd love to hear, how did you get there? How did you get out? And now what are a few ways that you're seeing this change as you're bringing your services to people?
Yeah. So my story around this began even before I started my own business. So I think like a lot of people who are in my peer group, our career really started to pop off, so to speak, during the Great Recession. When, if anyone was in the corporate world during that time, we all remember there's not a lot of budget, there's not a lot of jobs, there's not a lot of opportunity. And so hustle mode was activated times 100 for anyone who was trying to build a career at that time. At least that's what I was experiencing in my life. That's what I was seeing in my peers. And I was determined to have a successful career. I was going to do whatever it took. I was going to put in the hours. I was going to sacrifice, and I was going to succeed at all costs. That was what was going through my head at this time. And I woke up one day and I was not well. Just to say it bluntly, I really probably would have continued working myself to my sick bed if I did not have this type of wake up call. And I think it was like over 3 months period of time, I gained 40 pounds. Like that is no one likes to be in that situation, especially like a young woman in her 20s working in PR. I'd been the same weight since I was like 16 years old. And to me, that was the ultimate wake up call. Where I was like, okay, there's something here is not going right. Something is wrong. And so I went to the doctor and they were basically like, yeah, you are in severe like adrenal fatigue, exhaustion. You maybe have 6 more months to continue working like this, or you will be bedridden. That was the story. And so I had that ultimate wake up call, and I really felt like I didn't have any other option but to find a different way to work, or give up my career. Like it was one of those two things. Like I can change the way I'm working, I can pick a different career, or I can continue doing this for the next 6 months. Those were basically my three options. And I did not want to give up. I didn't want to lose the career that I had worked so hard to build. And so brick by brick, process by process, decision by decision, I changed and shifted the way that I was working to be more sustainable for myself, and really found myself at a place where after a couple of years, I felt like I did what I could do working for someone else. And it was time to, one, go out and launch my own business, and two, really be able to expand what I had developed and created and share that with other individuals who were maybe experiencing the same thing.
Was that part of the culture of where you were working, that it was just like work yourself to the bone? Or was that something that was just in you? That was your achiever self just wanting to really succeed? Or was it a combination of both?
I would say it was a combination of my internal drive, and also I would say more so industry expectations versus the culture of the place that I was working at. Because where I was working at the time, it was very much like take summer Fridays, take care of yourself. And there was that health and wellness element integrated into it, which I'm grateful for. I couldn't imagine where I would be if I was working at a place that was like, your workday is 6 to 6, which is not uncommon in the PR industry. But there also is just that reality of working in PR, social media marketing. Social media is always on, PR, 24-hour news cycle. And it's a challenge to operate in a different way and still deliver the results the client has been primed to expect, the response times that have been set for client, and so forth.
Yeah, I understand. So What was your mindset shift at, like you received that news? That's pretty devastating news. What was that kind of like narrative arc that you had from that point? Like you got this news and then did you have a resistance to it? Like it's going to be okay. I'm just going to keep powering through. Or was that enough of a 2x4 that you were like, whoa, whoa? Was it immediate or was it kind of over some time? I'm really curious.
Thinking back, I would say at the time, it was probably, it probably felt gradual,
Mm-hmm.
but during, so let me rephrase that. At the time, I think that it probably felt gradual. Looking back, I think that it was pretty immediate. Like I had to start making some changes within days and weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And with how quickly I was moving, I think that felt gradual. Like taking 5 days to make a change felt pretty gradual at a time when
Mm-hmm.
I was doing 100 things every single day. And I think if it were to happen today, it would be like that immediate kind of turnaround, wake up call. And really, it was the first time that I had been in a position where I actually had to surrender instead of push and say, I can do it. I will just push forward. I am going to find a way to overcome. Like I really had to surrender to it. And I don't know how often that happens to people in their 20s, at the stage of life that I was in. I mean, I see that happen to my peers all of the time now, whether that's
Mm-hmm.
motherhood or illness or a parent becoming ill, like life circumstance happens and you do just have to surrender to it. So in a way, I'm grateful to what I had as far as life experiences early on in life, because I do think it primed me to really ground myself in what was actually important to me much earlier than I think what I see with a lot of peers who have climbed the corporate ladder or started their own business. And yeah, just really having to surrender to circumstances every once in a while.
Mm. What did I'm if anyone is listening or so for someone listening to this and they're thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm in that situation. Like I can't go on the way I'm going. Like this isn't working." What is one thing that you do with your clients to kind of just start that process to move them out of that? Because you're right, it may not be burnout, but maybe a parent gets sick, maybe something happens where you're in a position that you really need to revamp the way you're working. What is the first step for someone in that place?
Yeah, so oftentimes when our clients come to us, I'm just now realizing this, like that pattern of something that they've got to surrender to. Like
Uh-huh.
a lot of times we're working with parents and it's a situation where they're like having this wake up call and I'm not spending enough time with my kids and they're growing up and I just have to run my business a different way. Or I want to retire in 5 years and I am realizing that this is not, I am nowhere near having a plan, or I want to sell my business or whatever it is. And so a lot of times the clients who work with us do come with some type of goal or a wake up call where they just realize that their business model is not working anymore. And what we always do as a starting point is ground in reality, because
Mm,
sometimes what happens is we spin ourselves out because we're stressed or we've overcomplicated things and we're not sure how to untangle it. But if we really ground in like what's true and real, and sometimes we've hidden that from ourselves because it's uncomfortable to look at, or we're not taking the time to really focus on what's important, that tends to be the most impactful place to start. And for us, that means like looking at your financials. Where are you leaving money on the table? Where are you losing profit? Where are you overspending? And not to be so black and white, but that's what makes the business go round, right? Is
mhm,
the money coming in and the money going out. And if we can
mhm,
really ground in the reality of what's happening there, that's a really good place to start. And sometimes we find that things aren't as bad as the agency was thinking they were, and small little tweaks are going to make incremental improvements. Or we see, all right, yeah, no, things are not in a very good place, then we can create a plan to get them on a path that feels much better. So grounding in the reality of your financials, where you are in terms of staffing, like your staffing model tends to be a place that we need to evaluate. Is it working or is it not? And then your services. And just looking at those three core pillars, it's a simplified kind of audit where we can say what's not working, what is working with each of these three core things. And that's how we really are able to start and build a path and a roadmap to a different destination.
I think that's so powerful. I was talking to a potential client the other day, and we do, messaging and branding. And I was talking about, let's look at your services and get this figured out. And he was like, I thought you did messaging. And I'm like, yeah, but I think the services and the things that you're putting out there are often a catalyst for everything else, because it's, what do you really want to do? What do you really want to offer? What's going to make you the money to do the thing that you really want to do? Like, come back home to those pieces rather than what does the market need exactly. And sometimes people, that can be really hard, where they're like, I'm not used to thinking about that. I'm just kind of going at the whims of like, we just got to get cash in the door. Like, let's just move. And so talk to me about your process about the services piece, because I think you've really optimized the way you're looking at other people's and your own. What are some steps that people could really hone in on that specific piece?
Yeah, I really love the point that you amplified there about starting with services and identifying what it is you really want to do and what the person you're looking to serve actually needs. A lot of service-based businesses do not do that, surprisingly. They offer services that they've always offered. They offer services that their competitors are offering. They offer services that they think that they should. And we go through a strategic planning process ourselves as Advocation, and also with our client at least annually, where we're auditing their services and taking into consideration what are your winners, like what's driving revenue, what's making your economic engine go round, and what does the client that you're looking to serve really need in this unique moment in time that you can deliver on. And we're always taking into consideration, like, what are your unique assets and selling points. That's something that's very important to me in the way that we work. Like, we're not creating cookie cutter plans. We're not creating the same roadmap for every agency that we work with, because we all bring different desires, interests, experience, and assets to the table that we can deliver to clients. And it might be that we work with a founder who is an excellent public speaker, so that a workshop series where they're bringing a bunch of individuals into a room makes sense as a potential service that they provide. Or someone is a great strategic mind, and it makes sense for them to really lean into strategic planning as a part of their core service offerings. So that is a really important piece for us, is just taking into consideration, like, what are your strengths? What are your team strengths? What is causing that feeling of desire in your body that you want to provide to clients, and lean into that. And my motto is kind of like less is more. Like, we don't need to be offering every service under the sun. It's how agencies lose a lot of money, momentum, and sanity, for lack of a better word there, is trying to be everything to everyone, but really focus in on what you can uniquely offer to your specific clients.
Should people work with you, Shauna, before they've built out a really large team, or do you prefer to go in when there's a clear founder and then a clear team or teams operating? Or if people, are a solopreneur, but they work with a lot of contractors and are starting to grow and scale, Is that a smart person to have, or is it smart to have you come in at that point too? Or who's an ideal client for you?
Yeah. So I think something really unique that my team is able to bring to the table, just based on the sheer volume of agencies that we've been able to work with in variety of teams and sizes, is our client base. We've worked with sole proprietors all the way up to 400 person firms. And each business model requires something different. So a 5-person firm versus a 50-person firm requires a different strategy, staffing model, financial model. And what we often see happen is that 5-person firm tries to replicate what that 50-person firm is doing and wasting a lot of time and money and resources. And so we have different types of services and packages and projects that agencies can hire us for. And we do start with boutique sized firms, and we do work with larger firms who have much more complex teams and challenges that they're working to solve. And I do love it when agencies bring us in early. We just worked with an agency, for example, who's got their first 2-3 full-time employees working with a handful of contractors. And they were really like, hey, we're looking to scale to over $1 million this year. The profit margins there. And so we spent a day with them to develop out their roadmap for the next 18 months to figure out, how do we need to shift our services? How do we need to shift our team structure so they can bake in that margin and then grow and scale to be that 50-person firm one day.
I think that would be so powerful at that level if you're looking to really scale, to have you come in early before you're in that crisis burnout mode. Because at that point too, gal, you just want to like burn down the house that you built, right? Like take it out. And like, what a horrible way to live when you're just in survival mode and you're not thriving and you have to dig yourself out. So I love the idea of bringing in someone like you early, just to make it, business should be a beautiful thing for your life. And it often turns into, this monster that's taking over everything. And I think we're sold the idea of this is for freedom, time freedom, this, we see this just beautiful idea. And so we want that 4-hour work week, and then it can turn into something absolutely chaotic. So
yeah, that is a soapbox of mine that I won't spend too much time on, but I do feel like, especially women business owners, and I guess all business owners with that, the 4-hour work week and time freedom, we're kind of sold a little bit of a bill of goods in terms of what it looked like to have a lifestyle business. And a lifestyle business, you want to make the money, work when you want, be able to spend time with your family, kids, go on vacations, and have the salary and the reputation and then that goes along with it. And what I think that a lot of people don't realize is it actually takes an incredible amount of structure and diligence to have that style of business actually work. Like, you have to be running your business like a well-oiled machine, like a clock. If you want to have that level of freedom in your business, it does not mean that you get to do whatever the hell you want. And I think that we're seeing now an increase of business owners coming to us where it's like, well, I just did all of these different things when I started my business because I wanted to have the freedom, have the time, have the money. And it just doesn't work that way. And we're having to untangle some of those quote unquote lifestyle businesses and create some real strategy and structure so that you can have that freedom on the other side.
What's the best thing that a business owner could do to prevent that kind of chaos?
So the 3 pillars that we talked about earlier of looking at your financial model, what it is you're selling, and then the team that's required to execute it all. We work with service-based businesses, but this is true for any type of business because we're all selling something, whether we're selling shoes or we're selling a marketing campaign. There's some unit that we're selling. So getting very clear on what it is you're selling, what the financial model needs to be around what it is that you have created to sell, including your hard costs, which is your team, and the margins that you need to operate everything. And it really can be just as simple as figuring out those three things, like what it is I'm selling, what does it cost to deliver that thing, and what's the team I need to execute. And sometimes that team can be you, or that team can be you and an assistant. It doesn't need to be a huge team and high number of employees to deliver, but those are the three core things that you need to create some structure and strategy around to really have tight business operations. And then, of course, the selling and the marketing on either end of those things. But it really is as simple as financial model, service model, and team model. And if you can figure out those three things early on and iterate them as necessary year over year as you grow, as the market changes, we would have a lot less chaos inside of businesses.
A lot of people come to us, and they think they need more marketing or their marketing isn't working. And we always start clients with an audit because I want to look at those things too, because marketing is amazing. But if those foundational pieces are not in place, listen, you can put a lot of marketing out there, but sometimes you're just burning money if internally your structures and your processes and your business is built on shaky ground or isn't even built on anything. A lot of us we're just running, right? You're just running and you don't have even have that time to come back and pull yourself to that basics. And it's not sexy work that you're doing, Shauna. People don't want that necessarily, right? They absolutely need it, but they we want a PR campaign. Let's make this big.
Yeah. We do our best to make it sexy ourselves. We enjoy it. I am so lit up by doing this because I see the impact that it creates, but nobody wants to do this work inside of their business. Nobody wants to go through their P&L and be the person who says we're overspending on X, Y, and Z, or we've got to let this person go because they're putting your business in the red. No one wants to have to make those decisions, but they're important for keeping a business in business.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge. And I think, I wasn't trying to put down your business because it's not the sexy work, but it is the work. This is the work that so many businesses need to come back to if they're really looking at longevity in this space, because we keep seeing, like I said earlier, I'm so glad that we're both rocking it in business a year. I don't know. How many years have you been in business now?
We celebrated 5 this year.
Yeah. I mean, so many companies are going out of business at that point because they're struggling with cash flow and they don't have what it takes to get to the next, 10-year mark. And so that can be really difficult and frustrating when they've really put so much time and energy into it. So I'm so happy you're in this space. And for everyone listening, she really is the secret weapon, because you have taken businesses and helped them double, triple their revenue, sell their businesses. I mean, the success stories coming out of the work that you've done are incredible.
Yeah, we love being that. I'm going to use that phrase, secret weapon, behind the scenes for agencies to really power the next phase of growth. And a lot of times we're coming in and the bones are there, the energy, the excitement, the results that they're securing for clients. And there just needs to be some sound structure developed that they can build on top of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, if you ground people in that reality right away, that's kind of step one. And again, I know this is a bit bespoke, for and custom for each type of agency that you're working with. But let's think about kind of that mid-sized group, the maybe 5 employees or 10. What's the next step? Are you then moving right into, getting a clear thing in reality, making sure you understand what the founder's goals are? And then are you going right to the financials and looking there first, or what's kind of the next step of that work?
Yeah. So we get that baseline of what does the agency look like today? What are the hard facts that we're working with? And then we do a full audit. Typically, agencies who partner with us either will do an audit and deliver that to their team, or they'll come and work with us for a day or two in person, and we'll build that strategic plan out together in a co-creation way. But it really is, where are we today? Where is it that you want to go? What are your goals? Is it we're looking to scale by the end of the year? We're looking to break into a new industry. You want to exit yourself. We're building a leadership team, whatever it is. What's the goal? And then what we really do and thrive in is figuring out the middle. Like, here's where you are. Here's where you want to be. What's the roadmap to get there? And since we have so much experience in this business model and looking at so many different firms and what's worked well for this industry, this size of team, agencies with this profit margin, we can really shortcut that path to say, here's the exact step-by-step roadmap. Here's the changes that you need to make in your business today. Here's the changes you need to make in your business 6 months from now. Here's what you need to reevaluate in a year. And we really put together that comprehensive roadmap so that agencies can really have a path lit for themselves. And like we talked about earlier, it's one thing to surrender and acknowledge to what your circumstances are, but we don't want to dwell in that. Nobody wants to just say like, all right, well, things kind of suck right now. Here's where they suck. How do we get to a different place is where we want to take folks to next. So that is what our process looks like. And it really is different for every single agency. We're able to draw from a lot of experience, but I don't think copy and pasted like one single page from a plan from agency to agency. And then depending on how an agency feels in terms of their ability to execute that internally, some agencies will just take that roadmap and say, great, thank you so much. We've got the plan. We're going to put our heads down and execute. Or they'll work with us in an ongoing basis, either getting advisorship from me or our senior team, or will come in and operate in a fractional capacity, either as a fractional COO, or if we're really looking to get an agency owner out of the weeds, usually they need some type of like hands-on client leadership support. So we can step in from a fractional director of client service standpoint. We've got a team who will do that. And then we can scale up support from there. We work with some larger agencies who want us to develop processes and train their team and be the kind of outsourced operations team to do it all. So kind of anything that runs the gamut, our team can do, from creating the plan all the way to executing every detail of it.
That's incredible. And I think that's so powerful because I hear from so many of my fellow colleagues, they're like, I just don't know if it's worth it, right? They've built a team up to a certain amount and they're waking up at 3 every night, just like, can I keep paying these people the wage that I'm paying them? Can I do this thing? And it just becomes so heavy. So what a relief to have you come in and create that specific step-by-step process for people. I'm sure that is so amazing for people.
We get that feedback a lot, not to, be the person to toot our own horn, but I will for a second, of just it provides such a relief to teams that, one, there's not just a path to get from where they are to where they want to be, but for a short, sometimes it just requires like 3, 6, a year's worth of bandwidth relief where you can breathe as a founder or an executive leader inside of an agency to have the space to do the next thing, or, hey, we've got operations covered, or we've got oversight of your client delivery team covered, so you can sell and get the revenue to where it needs to be, or you can go build the next thing, or you can launch the next service, or you can jump into the next industry vertical to grow the agency. Sometimes people just need that bridge.
How often, because I've seen this a few times where people dive into the agency model, think it's going to be what they want, build out the team, realize it's not what they want, right? Exactly everything we're talking about. And they throw up their hands and are like, I am literally going to burn it down. And then start over again. I'm curious, for that type of person that's at that place where they're like, we're going to sell the business, we're just going to get out, we're going to do whatever, dissolve it and start over, where it's just a solopreneur idea. Are you seeing any of that happen? I just feel like I've seen like this people, people really go solo agency, and then a lot of them are coming back to the solo place again. Is that a trend, or are you seeing that because you're in this every day?
I actually am seeing that. And what I think a lot of people who maybe started their agency several years ago and have built it in the kind of traditional agency model are starting to see and realize is that there are a lot of different options that are available to service providers now that really were not, even like 3, 4 years ago. And so we have been working with a lot of agencies to launch productized service offerings, which maybe don't require as much team input time. And with the combination of really dialed in processes, very tightly scoped, productized service offerings, tech stacks, automation, we are seeing agencies kind of evolving the model where it's not outside the realm of possibility for a solo person with maybe an assistant or an assistant and a couple contractors or something like that to scale a business up to $1.5 million a year in annual recurring revenue. And that really wasn't the reality of firms in 5 years ago. You really, if you were getting up to like 300,000-400,000 in revenue, you needed to start thinking about hiring some full-time help. And now if you're structuring your services in a specific way and your business model, you can scale to a much higher revenue level than was available to us previously.
Mm, okay, that's kind of sexy. Let's talk about that. Because I think that idea of having this productized offerings is really cool. How are you helping people really decide what those are and then create them so they can have that? Because I think that goes back to the lifestyle business is there are so many opportunities for you to create things that are maybe not rinse and repeat completely. Maybe they are, but give yourself some of that more space and time, especially if you are in burnout and you need time to recover, or you have things happening in your personal life and you need business to be running, but you just don't have the capacity to manage a team and home and all the other pieces.
Yeah, the way that we think about productized service offerings is, I wouldn't say completely different than traditional services, but the mindset shift there is, I think, pretty significant. Like that's usually the biggest hurdle that we need to get folks over is just how we're thinking about the structuring of those services. And it may be a silly analogy, but I always use the analogy of like, think about a razor and like, what does a razor do? It shaves, right? And there might be a razor that is targeted towards men, and it is specifically for shaving your face and not having razor bumps. If it's targeted to women, it might be for shaving your legs and moisturizing and all of that. A razor does not also mow your lawn, clean the sink. And that's oftentimes how we're thinking about services is our service can increase your reputation, get you into the press, give you content for social media. Like we're thinking about all of these different things that we can sell, how we can position our services to make them palatable to sell. And when we're thinking about a productized service offering, it solves one problem for one audience. And that's how we can productize around it. We can create processes, we can develop a tech stack, we can create a marketing campaign, a marketing budget, and really get very specific in, hey, if we put $1 into this productized service to get $5 out, like we can start to create a machine like that. But it does require you to think very strategically about like, what's the one challenge that we are going to solve here? And what's the product that we're developing to solve that challenge? And I think the best place to start is really think about who's your audience, who are your audiences, and what are the challenges that they're coming to you for? Or maybe what are the challenges that they're not coming to you for that you wish they would? and list all of those out. Like do a big brain dump, think about every single challenge that you can solve and get to as finite as a place of as possible, whether that's they're spending way too much time on creating graphics for their social media, or they don't have enough budget to hire a PR agency, so they're not hiring anyone at all, like whatever the challenges are. And then once you have a list, start to attach monetary values to each one. So what's the value of not having social media graphics? Is probably a little bit of a lower value than, hey, we need to launch an entire PR campaign for a new product that our company is introducing. And go after the ones that have the highest financial value to your target clients, and then start to think about what your solutions could be. And it might be that you land in a place that's not totally automated or 100% productized, but with the combination of good technology, the right processes, and the right team to execute, we see agencies cut down the amount of like physical hands-on keyboard time that they have to put into their products and services, sometimes by 50 to 75%, if you can sell it based on the value that it provides, the solution that you're providing, the challenge that you're solving, and then you build the machine to solve it versus, hey, it's going to take us 75 hours to do this campaign and the team is going to be billed out at X hourly rate. Like there's no leverage there. So building some type of productized offering or some, I keep using this word machine because that's really what it is that we're building. Like what's the inputs to get the output that we desire is what we help clients create. But the very first place to start is that identification of the challenges and the monetary value of solving those challenges.
I am sure you come across, because I think that is amazing. And I'm sure everyone listening is like, okay, if I haven't done that yet, I would like to do that because that sounds so great. But I'm curious if you have founders or teams that have been so used to being known for just so many, they're known for nothing because they're doing everything, right? This happens with so many of us. We're like, we can solve all of the problems. I'll solve this and this. Is that a really big hurdle that you have to get over with a lot of your teams to be like, well, what's the one thing, right? I can imagine that can be really, really stressful when people are used to just doing everything, right? And they're like, I don't know if I want to be a razor because maybe I'm more than a razor. I'm also a razor and I'm shaving cream and I'm this too. And how do I package that? Does that come up for people when they're working with you?
It does. And I have a lot of opinions about the way agencies niche down and position themselves that we don't have to go down that rabbit hole today. But what I will say for productized service offerings is if you are already operating in a place where you've got a bunch of services and you're positioning them to a ton of different audiences, it's not necessarily that you need to get rid of all of that. But I am 100% certain, short of being, an actual psychic with a crystal ball, that it's going to become increasingly difficult for agencies to scale in that way because the number of agencies that are starting every single day because it's easier for people to launch their own businesses. There's tons of freelancers on the market. Budgets are being constrained. Like the competition for service-based businesses, especially in this age of AI, is going to ratchet up beyond what we're experiencing and seeing today. So it's not necessarily that you have to scrap the business that you have. The beautiful thing about productized service offerings is that they lend themselves incredibly well to developing their own standalone brand. So we've had agencies who trademark their methodology for their productized services, trademark the name, create frameworks for the services they're executing, license and sell them to other agencies. Like there's just so much opportunity in this productized service offering space that you could create a sub business to your agency with this productized offering or a handful of offerings. And then they become their own unique thing to sell. Like you can still market the services that you offer to the lawyers, the doctors, CPG, like all of the above, and also market this productized service offering to the audience that needs it. But I guarantee you that a CPG company and a doctor do not need the same productized service offering, but really kind of focusing in on the audience, the challenge, and the solution for this productized offering, and just creating marketing campaign, unique page on your website. Like it can really just be as simple as that. And then if you want to filter out some other services over time or productize additional things, that is a fine strategy too. But for productized service offerings to work, you really do have to focus on the audience and the outcome that you're providing.
Okay, that's amazing. Shauna, we could talk all day. We could do a whole series on everything. Thank you so much for this amazing wisdom. Is there any last piece of advice or resource or book that you love that you think people should check out if they're hearing this and they're interested in that sounds like a great next step for me and this business, or I want to get out of burnout. How do I do it? Do you have one last piece of advice for us?
Yes. So one resource that I will share, I am a big audiobook podcast person. I'm sure everyone who's listening is also. One book on this topic that I really love, if you've not read or listened to yet, is a book titled Essentialism. I'm forgetting the author's name at this exact moment in time, so we can pull that in, but it's a beautiful book that talks about what it really means to do one thing well, and how in our society today we've changed what priority kind of mean. And priority has always meant what's the one most important thing, and not what are the 10 most important things that we're going to achieve in a day. So I think that book is such just a beautiful way to change and kind of give you a fresh perspective on how we operate in the business world. I also really love The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. If you have not read or listened to that book, it is in the same vein, and I think provides a really unique outlook to the way we think about business, where it's not necessarily a game that has a clear ending. It doesn't have a clear set of rules. It doesn't have winners and losers. An infinite game has unclear rules, unclear players, unclear competitors, and really just talks about how we think about those two different games, so to speak, differently. And that, I think, is another important mindset shift for folks. And especially if you're coming from a place of burnout or really feeling like you need to give yourself a reset, thinking about the way you're doing business a little bit differently. Both of those books are great.
Thank you. I will link those up. Those are both amazing. I haven't read Essentialism, so I'm excited about that recommendation. Have you read The Pumpkin Plan by Mike Michalowicz?
No, I haven't.
Okay. It's kind of a similar idea too of really going all in on a bit, one idea, and this idea of just kind of, anyway, he's a fun writer. So that's a cool book too. But I think there's so much value in really I'm a big value person, coming back to your values, coming back to what do you really want? This is such a short, wild, and precious life. So what is it that you want? And then being able to create that business around it, and with your processes and structure and strategy. I mean, what a beautiful gift for people to find you. Do you have any specific resources, Shauna, that are yours that you want to point people to, or any workshops coming up that we can promote for you? Because I think we need more of your wisdom out in the world.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So we have a monthly newsletter called the Agency Insider, where we're sharing insights and behind the scene learnings from all of the agencies that we work with every single month. A lot of times there's a resource that I'm providing that we're not sharing anywhere else. It might be a video tutorial or a free training. So if you are in the agency world, definitely sign up for that. It's a great resource that our team puts together. And then we're actually hosting a workshop on productized service offerings later this summer in early August, I believe is the date that we've set. And I'm more than happy to give all of your audience and listeners a free comped ticket to join us so we can get you a special coupon code, whatever we want it to be, and extend that offer to your team so that we can. That's one thing that we just love the opportunity to do is just be generous with what we know and change businesses one day at a time.
That's such beautiful reciprocity. Thank you. I can't wait to share that out. So I'll make sure we put that code in our intro and then our email that goes out about this. But thank you so much, Shauna. I've learned so much from you, and it's just been amazing to watch you just grow and thrive. And I'm just so grateful that you spent time with us today. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Business Origin Stories. Love the podcast? Be sure to share it with a friend or colleague and give us a review on Apple Podcasts. Join me on Instagram and make sure to sign up for our weekly email.